the greatest features of SMSTurbo is our Sage 50 accounting interface. The SMSTurbo Sage 50 accounting interface can replace hours, if not days, of tedious, error-prone manual data entry with mere moments of accurate automation that can be accomplished with a handful of mouse clicks. SMSTurbo tickets created for customers with net accounts are compiled into customer invoices by customer and by customer job. SMSTurbo tickets for customers that have been paid with cash, check, or credit cards produce Sage 50 sales receipts. SMSTurbo tickets created for vendors with accounts are compiled into vendor bills, and SMSTurbo tickets for vendors that have been paid with cash or check produce cash or check disbursements in Sage 50. For today's demonstration, we're going to process a number of SMSTurbo tickets into Sage 50. Taking a look at the tickets that we'll be utilizing, we see that we have a couple of tickets for Allard Builders against the shopping mall order. We have another ticket for Allard Builders against a different order, order number 31113. We have a vendor ticket that has not been paid and will result in a bill being processed into Sage 50. We have a customer ticket that has been paid with a check. We have a customer ticket that has been paid with a credit card. We have a vendor ticket that was paid at the time of ticketing with cash. And we have a vendor transaction that was paid at the time of ticketing with a check. Processing these ticket transactions into Sage 50 is accomplished by opening up our accounting interface. Once the interface is open, we're going to see that we have a couple of options right off the bat. We could select a range of customers or vendors that we would like to use for processing these transactions. We could select a range of orders for processing. We could select a range of material categories for processing. We could select a date range, which is most common. Mine is already set up for today, and I'm going to leave it there for this demo. It's not highlighted at the moment, but we can select a billing cycle. So you can set up billing cycles for your customers and vendors so that you could have certain accounts that you bill monthly, others that you bill daily or weekly or bi-monthly, whatever billing cycles you'd like to establish. You can opt as to whether or not you would like the transactions to be printed when you pass them into Sage 50, and we're going to do that today. Over here on the right, we can see that we have some options as to what we're going to process for transactions. Today we're going to process our customer transactions. Those will be the AR invoices. The customer paid transactions, those will be the sales receipts. Vendor tickets, those will be the AP bills that are generated into Sage 50. And the vendor paid transactions, which are going to be the cash or check disbursements. You can decide whether or not you want to pass $0 ticket transactions into Sage 50. You might want to do that for accounting or inventory purposes. The transaction date that you would like to be reflected on these records that are recorded into Sage 50 can be established. This is handy if you come in after a long weekend and you want to do transactions that should have been done a couple days earlier. And you've got transaction formats that you can select. Detail will give you a separate detail line on every transaction for the tickets that were involved. Summary will just give you summary information by material. And for some rare circumstances, you can actually produce a separate transaction into Sage for every single ticket that was generated in SMSTurbo. We're going to stick to the detail option. Once you've made any changes to these options that you'd like, you can click on the OK button, and this is going to ask you to simply confirm that you want to produce these transactions. I'm going to say yes. It's going to then ask you to confirm that you've selected the right company in Sage, because you can have more than one company record, and I'm going to say yes again. And the transactions are then produced and pushed into Sage automatically. We see that 8 different transactions were recorded into Sage 50. It then asks me if I want to record my customer balances or synchronize my customer balances with SMSTurbo. I do want to do this because this will give the operator the opportunity to warn a customer if they are approaching their credit limit. And it's asking me if I want to display the transactions that were created that are going to be printed, and I'm going to say yes. This is the first of 2 invoices that were created for Allard Builders. We'll zoom in a little bit and we'll see that this one is for the new school order. And if we scroll down, we're going to see that this is the invoice that was created for the 2 tickets that were against the shopping mall order. Now let's take a look at the resulting transactions as they show up in Sage 50. We'll start by taking a look at the sales invoices. Here we see the two invoices that were produced from SMSTurbo. We'll take a look at the first one, and we see it's the invoice for Allard Builders, and it's for one that was against the customer PO 31113, and it had the one detail line on it, the invoice number, which was generated by SMSTurbo, and the information that came from the SMSTurbo order. If we take a look at the next one, we're going to see it's for the same customer, but because the customer was set up to invoice by order, it broke out these two tickets on a separate invoice against the shopping mall PO. Next, we'll take a look at the sales receipts. We'll see that we have the three transactions that came over from SMSTurbo. If we look at the first one, we see that this is for the customer that had a cash transaction and the ticket was paid for with cash. We see that it notes that it was paid with cash and the information from the ticket. We look at the next transaction and we see that this is the ticket that was paid for by the customer with a check for $275.40. It's noted that the payment type was check, and we see that we have the check number as well. Lastly, we'll take a look at the one that was paid for with a credit card, and we see that this transaction is noting that it was a Visa that was the form of payment, the receipt number, the details from the ticket. Now we'll take a look at the vendor transactions. We'll start by taking a look at the vendor bills. And we see that we have the one vendor bill that came over from SMSTurbo. When we open that up, we're going to see that it's the vendor from SMS, the details about the ticket transaction, the amount that is owed to the vendor, and at this point the bill can be processed into a payment and the vendor can be paid. And lastly, we'll take a look at paid transactions for vendors. And we'll see we've got the two transactions from vendors that were paid when the ticket was created. The first one is for the cash vendor where they were paid cash during the ticketing transaction. And the last one is the vendor that was paid with a check when the product was purchased through the ticketing transaction. We see that the payment type was check and the check number that was paid out was recorded. Now, to close the loop, so to speak, if we go back to SMSTurbo and take a look at our individual ticket transactions, we will see that every single ticket that was sent over to Sage 50 now has a reference number written back to the ticket that creates a permanent audit trail between the SMSTurbo tickets and the resulting transactions that were recorded in Sage 50. Some of these tickets will reference the same reference number because they were combined into single transactions, such as invoices, when they were sent to Sage 50.